What's happening, folks? Today's episode is brought to you by GigGear.com, makers of the award-winning gig gloves and the newly released two-hand touch. Head over to gig-gear.com. Use the code ROADIE. You'll get 15% off your entire order when you check out. That's gig-gear.com. Use that code ROADIE. Get yourself 15% off your entire order.
What's happening, roadies? This is Ace Piva.
This is Charles Twilling.
What's happening, roadies? This is Hanford Pittman, and you're listening to Roadie Free Radio.
What's up, roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business. All right. What is happening, roadies? Welcome back to another fantastic episode. This is episode 140. I thank you for tuning in. My guest today is front of house engineer and production manager, currently on tour with Tove Lo, Mr. Hanford Pittman. Man, I am excited, guys. I am very excited because yesterday in the mail, I received my advanced reader's edition of Guitar King, Nicole Bloomfield's Life in the Blues by David Dan. You know it because I had him on last week talking about this book. The publisher sent me a copy. True to form, it is a monster. It is a big, heavy 736-page book. I am super excited to jump into this at some point. And I can soon because I did finally finish John Joseph's The PMA Effect, which is a great book. If you guys don't know John Joseph, lead singer for the Cro-Mags, New York veteran punk rocker, ultra vegan. He is an Iron Man. He's a beast, this guy. And he wrote the book Beat Is for Pussies, as well as, I think, The Evolution of a Cro-Mag is what it's called. His memoir, and then, of course, The PMA Effect, which I've been reading over the last couple of weeks, trying to get my mind straight on life and upcoming surgery and all that good stuff. So anyway, if you guys want to order your copy of Guitar King, you can order an advance copy as well, or pre-order your copy. Sorry, it doesn't come out till October. I got a link in the description here on the show notes, so go ahead and hit that. Who was at Summer NAMM? How did it go? What did I miss, man? Who did I miss? I had a quick call last week with Liz Shaw from Recording Studio Rockstars, and of course our buddy Chris Salim, the Cubase mix master producer from Montreal, who was also on the show. Those guys were going to hit NAMM together, and it made me jealous. Man. But I hope those of you that went had a good time. And, fill me in. Send me an email, info@roadiefreeradio.com. Let me know what happened. Big shout out to Tanya O'Callahan and Derek Green. You guys may remember them. Also former guests on the show. Tanya is a badass bass player from Ireland. Derek Green, of course, is the lead singer for Sepultura. They have a new show that they have collaborated on. I think I talked about this last summer because I helped shoot some of the promo for it with Tanya in the city in New York. They have a new show called Highway to Health that they have announced. I'm not 100% sure when it's actually coming out, but they have the pilot episode in the works. They basically travel around together, both vegans as well. You don't have to be vegan to be on the road, by the way. You could do your thing, do your own thing, follow your own path. Highway to Health, though, follows these two as they go on tour around the world, finding delicious vegan eats and eating healthy out there while they are touring on the road. Speaking of being healthy, my friends, as you know, surgery's coming. Surgery is coming. July 30th, I go in under the knife. They're going to clean up my big toe, get that thing settled for me. Hopefully the pain will stop over there. Interestingly enough, I think my ankle on the left foot has been giving me sympathy pains. That's the one I got the cartilage issue going on that's going to eventually need to go under the knife as well, because that thing has been screaming the last few weeks, and it got me doubting. Should I have started with the ankle and not the toe? but I think we just ease into what these next 3 years are going to look like of me hobbling around and rehabbing. By the way, anyone been to the ER recently? Holy shit. Remember I talked a couple weeks ago about my AFib episode that put me in the ER? You know what that cost? I just got that bill. That was $3,000 for 4.5 hours of sitting in there freaking out for 4.5 hours. $3,000. So just add that to the list, put it on top of the rest of the debt, and we'll get that settled up. I wonder how many buttons, how many I love my roadie buttons I got to sell to clear $3,000. Whew, that's scary. Let's not worry about that. Listen, those of you on the road, and this is not a sponsor, by the way. I just used this company recently, and I wanted to give them a shout out because I really dug the whole system. But those of you on the road that use walkie-talkies, you probably have your sources, and you may even know these people here in New Jersey. AAA Communications, www.aaa.com. That's AAAcom.com. They rent out walkies. They send them to you. You use them. You put them in the box. You send them back. It's kind of like lensrentals.com for us video people. Great little service. Super friendly. Had an event this past weekend. Had about 5 people on walkies. I had to talk them through a show. One of the things that I've been working on is this local conversations. It's called Conversations on the Green is what it's called. And it's kind of like a talk show. And Connecticut Public Television was in filming. And so we needed to get on the comms, talk to each other. I got 2 podcasts for you guys to check out. I'd like you to go to Fretman's podcast, Fretman's blog. You can check him out. I think I gave him a shout out a few weeks back. He's been a big supporter here at Roadie Free Radio. I appreciate everything he's doing. I finally had a chance to go and listen to his show this week, and he does a great job just talking behind the scenes also with musicians and artists. I think he's going to have Grace Royce on as well coming up pretty soon, but doing a great job out of California. Fretman's podcast, Fretman's blog podcast. The other one, if you are a Black Crowes fan, as you know I am, and Magpie Salute as well. Anything the Robinson brothers do, I'm into, and Mark Ford, of course. State of Amorica podcast. The State of Amorica podcast. I got links for both of those shows in the show notes. You can go and follow it out. State of Amorica is done by 2 of the self-proclaimed biggest fans of the Black Crowes. They break down, an album's worth of tunes. They break down, I think this week's episode was like all the Stones covers they've done and the ones that they like to do and stuff like that. Anyway, State of Amorica and Fretman's podcast, go check those out. We got some happy birthdays in the house. Nicole Bloomfield, niece to Michael Bloomfield and a cousin of mine. She's not a roadie or anything, but we're talking Bloomfield, so I got to give a shout out. Bruce Ryder, 5 Finger Death Punch. Whoop-ha! His birthday. I don't know, guys. I'm losing it. I'm 5 days out or so from surgery. Shit's going down, man. Bill Asher, the luthier out in Los Angeles. It's his birthday as well. Bill Asher, by the way, makes the Mark Ford guitar that Mark loves. I'd like to get my hand on one of those. And finally, rounding out the birthday love. You know him. You love him. Mr. Randy Brown. Randy Brown. What a dude. Drum tech. Mark Ford, guitar tech for the Magpie Salute. I think he was a bass tech. Yeah, he was Sven's bass tech as well. Guy does everything. Just a good dude. Just a good cat. Love you, Randy. Guys, coming up in the next few weeks, we got some cool interviews. We got some good stuff coming at you. We got Maya Finlay coming up. We got 2 sound girls kicking us off. Boom, 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 back to back. We got Maya Finlay. We got Rena Kozak. And then out there dangling a few weeks out, we got the man himself, Mr. Soul Fingers, Mr. Peter Levin. The keyboardist, Peter Levin, is going to be on the show. Super psyched. We had a great chat, man. We talked everything from cannabis CBD oils, Greg Allman, the Blind Boys of Alabama. We hit it. We hit all of it. So stay tuned for that. Also, you may have seen I was posting some pics and some stuff. It was 15 years ago this summer. 15 years ago this summer that my short film Roadie came out and totally changed my life. Completely changed my... I'm doing sound effects this week. I don't know what's up with that. Completely changed my life and have ultimately led me to starting Roadie Free Radio, shining a light on all of you amazing men and women out there that and non-binaries, okay? Let's not forget them, that bring us live music and music in general and the good vibes, and you work your asses off. 15 years ago. It's crazy. It flew. It's also dawned on me that I've never actually just laid out the entire tale of how Roadie was made, how it ultimately got to the Black Crowes camp and their crew, and then got me to Doug Redler and Drew Consalvo and Randy Brown, and then just kicked off the podcast and what I'm doing now. So that might be an episode where I just talk for a half an hour and tell you the whole damn story and give you some behind the scenes tidbits. If you're looking to help support the show, guys, look no further than patreon.com/Roadie Free Radio. For as low as $1 a month, you can sign up on a recurring thing where I just suck that money. I reach into your account, I grab that dollar, and I pull it right out, and you get some good stuff. You get some good stuff. You get a shout out on the show. You get some merch for your troubles, and you get a big warm hug from me. You get a virtual hug. So patreon.com/Roadie Free Radio. Honestly, guys, those of you that have been supporting, I can't thank you enough. It means so much to me, and every little bit helps to keep this show going. And speaking of merch, those of you that have bought t-shirts over the last couple of months, just hang in there. They're coming, man. They're coming. It's been a snag, a snafu, a foobar, one after another, but we're getting the shirts done. They're going to be coming to you. So just hang in there. I've got your info, and we going to get it out to you. We are also sponsored today by Show Pro Beard Co. Live audio engineer Chris Wilson, the audio wizard, and his wife, they've created their very own unique formula of beard balm, okay? You know what beard balm is? It's like a beard oil. You put it on your beard. You tame up the woolly mammoth that's sitting on your face so you look presentable when you get off the bus and you show up at a gig and someone's like, who the hell is Sasquatch that just showed up? No, now you're looking good. You're looking clean, all right? It performs well in terms of health and nourishment. It also provides the control, shine, and pleasant aroma that any bearded professional would appreciate. That's you. You are a bearded professional going to a gig. Look the part. Be the part. Now, these are non-waxy, all-natural beard balms that will leave your beard soft, smooth, and nourished. Choose from a variety of natural-smelling scents. They've got stuff like Home Sweet Home, Morning Wood, Through the Woods, Chain Motor Oil, and of course, Original Unscented. I used all the flavors because I got the little trial sample pack that's got all of them. I used them all. And then when I finally got done with all the other scents and I just had Original Unscented, I was like, oh man, I'm going to miss smelling my mustache, from a millimeter away up my nose of a little Home Sweet Home. Maybe some Morning Wood. I don't know. But listen, if you use the code Roadie over there at showprobeardcode.com, 20% off your entire order. 20% off, man. All right, listen, let's get to this thing here today. Let's do the show. Hanford Pittman. We had a great chat. He's a Southern California dude, made his move to the East Coast. He cut his teeth on several LA venues like the Echo, the Troubadour, and the Music Center downtown. And of course, in Brooklyn, when he made the move, he's logged a lot of time over at Roughtrade. He's got extensive festival experience, including Outside Lands, Coachella, Lollapalooza, Glasdtonbury. And he's been out with bands like Siilversun Pickups, Warpiant, Purity Ring, Bjorns, and now he's out with Swedish rock sensation Tove Lo. He's also engaged to be married to someone who's also in the music biz, so she gets it. I guess that's the best way to do it. Find someone else in the music biz who gets it, marry them, and then you don't get hassles when you're out on the road. You know what? I take that back. You're going to get hassled. No matter what, you're going to get hassled. But he is engaged to be married. We wish him all the best. We had a great chat. I hope you guys dug it. And finally, guys, we are also sponsored today by airturn.com. These guys have been manufacturing wireless products such as Bluetooth pedals and multifunction remotes. Those of you that run teleprompters, check them out. They have supported hundreds of thousands of customers in over 40 countries. They have a wide range of products to choose from, including the AirTurn Go stand, which, as you know, is one of the best portable mic stands on the market that I use on this show on the regular. Head over to airturn.com, use that code ROADIE, get yourself 10% off your entire order over there at airturn.com. That's 10% when you use the code ROADIE. All right, so listen, let's get this thing kicked off. Here we go. Mr. Hanford Pittman.
Hit it. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie.
How are you, sir? What's going on? You're in Brooklyn, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's right. We just got back about 2 weeks ago and planning for August right now.
Nice. So a little break.
Yeah, kind of. Definitely a break. But you jump right into domestic life. And my fiance's family was in town for the 4th, and so went right into that. It was fun.
Right. Right. A buddy of mine also just, he was out shooting for like 6 weeks or something, producing a reality show. And he came back on a Friday. I think Saturday morning they had house guests show up for 10 days with their kids, staying in the house. 10 days. I was like, dude, that's crazy. And then family over the July 4th weekend and stuff. And he was just like, dude, it's crazy. But I know, for most of us that do this, guy or gal, if you're gone and you come back, that's what happens, right? You get sucked right back into the routine and you've got the honey-do list.
Yeah, you have to do it. It's one of the things that you decide to do when you tell your significant other that you're going to travel for 10 months out of the year. So it's definitely not a complaint. That's for sure.
And you're with Tove Lo, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Tove Lo.
Tove Lo, out of Sweden.
Swedish pop act. Yeah.
Nice. So I imagine most of those dates are overseas.
Yeah, they have been. I just started with that camp. We were out for basically all of June. And then, so that was my first time meeting everybody, and hanging out at rehearsals and all that stuff. And then doing these festivals in the UK and Europe.
Yeah. And you're production managing for them.
I am. Yeah. Which is the first time that I've production managed only.
Right.
Generally I do front of house as well.
Yeah. What was that? Was that a nice break to be able to just focus on one thing?
Yeah, it is great to focus on one thing. I've had the opportunity to do it with front of house, with Warpiant. And that's great too. Anytime that you could just focus on one task, wear one hat, I think the outcome is better for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. What is her crew mostly Swedish?
Yeah, and the back line and monitors, and front of house for that run are all Swedes.
Wow.
The only ones, the tour manager and myself, are the only Americans.
Nice. How was that working with an international crew and just trying to getting the lay of the land with the... Actually, let's talk about that. Let's talk about just, you're coming into a situation, you don't know a lot of these folks, maybe if at all. Totally new guy.
Yeah, complete new guy. I think I was, or I hope I am, a welcome addition to the camp, but I couldn't be luckier, hanging out. The Swedes they're super sweet. They're very hardworking. And so it was a perfect situation for me.
Yeah.
I was able to, they're all about teamwork. And so they're like, if you need anything, let us know. And I've certainly called upon their help. So
Nice.
it's been great. It's been a nice transition for sure.
Nice. Was there a language barrier at all?
It is insanely difficult to understand them. You know, I grew up in California, and you know, you get used to Spanish, and you know, I could decipher that really well, and I speak it pretty well. And so that's what you're used to, that the way the tongue rolls off your mouth, you know, you get used to that, you know, cadence.
Right.
But the Swedes have it's just, I can't even explain it.
I know.
You know, hard G's, soft G's, J's are soft. You know, it's very interesting, but they also speak, you know, they generally speak 3 other languages, English being one of them. So in that sense, it's good. But sometimes there's a little bit of a language barrier, but not so much. But I want to learn. I want to learn the language, and so I'm trying to do that. But it's proven difficult.
Yeah, man, it's tough to learn languages as you get older too. I mean, it's easier to jump in when you're a kid, you know.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. What were some of the challenges working with a group you didn't know, getting to know? You're doing festivals. What were some of the festivals like over there?
Well, luckily I've done every festival that we did, actually. So I knew what to expect for the most part. You know, the pressure that happens when you're coming in to a new band and a new group of people is like, you're trying to ride that line between, you know, obviously you want everything prepared for them. Yep. You know, my job as a production manager is to make sure that the crew is taken care of and that they have all of their needs. You know, but you want to hang out with them a little bit too outside of work. You know, but when you go into that for the first few months, my focus is to solely make sure that they're taken care of. And then the other is to kind of adapt in the social life, which is, as you know, a big part of this.
Yeah, it's the hang, right? You got to be a good hang.
You got to be a good hang, or at least you got to be a hang that doesn't reflect negatively. You know, you could be a neutral hang, which I think people are okay with too. Right. But if you're, you know, if you're not vibing with them, odds are you're not going to get asked back.
Right. Yeah, I guess there's a couple of ways to play it. I mean, I guess like there's 3, right? There's like, you can be the hang that's like out front and interpersonal and hanging out and all that kind of stuff. You can be that neutral hang where you're just doing your job and keep kind of quiet, keep to yourself, right? You don't want to be the negative hang. But I guess some people are, and you don't get hired.
Yeah. And it's different, especially for that run specifically with Tove, it was all fly dates. So there's a lot more hangout time because you're just waiting together. Right. Which is almost like the worst way to start a relationship. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because you want to hang out and get to know them and be cool, but you also don't want to overstay your welcome, which is easily something you could do when you're just hanging out in an airport.
Sure.
You know?
Plus you're tired because you're flying and it's a different thing. I mean, yes, you are those things on a bus, but there's more sort of schlepping, it feels like, involved in an airport and security, right? And all that kind of shit. And so that can probably start to wear on people. Yeah. And so you're trying to keep yourself in check and reading everybody else and how am I going to interact with that person and all that kind of stuff.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun game. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been doing this a while, huh?
Yeah, I'm around 8 or 9 years, I guess. Yeah. Which is a decent amount of time to be doing it. There's obviously, people have done it 3 and 4 times. Right. My senior. So, yeah. But I feel, I'm starting to feel real comfortable and you kind of you've been into most situations. And so I'm starting to feel like the path is a little less bumpy.
Yeah. You, we were talking about festivals and doing a lot of festivals with Tove Lo. You've done a lot of festivals in your day, probably most of them. It looks like you got a repeat at Coachella, Lollapalooza, and Outside Lands and whatnot. And I'm curious, do you have any tips or ideas for people? Is there anything different that you do as you kind of get into festival season, when spring starts coming around, or we get into summer and whatnot, when festival season kind of kicks off? Is there anything that you do or any advice you've got for people listening that, just how to handle that? It's a whole different thing. It's not like rolling into a theater, right?
Sure. I think
the other bands and shit.
The biggest thing is just trying to have all the information for your crew, so when they show up, they're not as stressed as the environment already provides.
Yep.
But then also when you're there, just remember that, we're all in this shit together. At that point, the show's going to happen. It could be a messy one, but everyone has the same job. And I think what I've learned the most is when you come in to a festival and you just, you let them know you're there, you let them know that you're willing to do what you need to do to help everyone and their time and ease their stress. But if you come in hot or you're angry or something because something doesn't go your way right away, like you're just going to make your life that much more difficult because no one's going to want to work with you.
Right. Of course. Yeah. What's your sort of, go-to must-have production manager toolkits?
Oh man.
Do you have the fancy flight case with the printer built in and all that?
Yeah, I do have that.
I love that shit.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, that stuff is great. Yeah, I have one of those flip top cases with the printer, and everything that goes into that would be, anything that everybody else might need. What's run out of it.
Where's the point when you're starting out and you're doing this? You're doing front of house, and maybe you're dabbling in production management. Where is that point where you're like, okay, I gotta up my game, my bag of tricks, my tools. I got to invest in a flight case and the printer and all that kind of stuff. When does that switch happen?
Yeah, well, I think getting a printer, as funny as it sounds, has really made your life easier because you're not relying on anyone else to do shit for you.
Right.
And depending on the band you're with, they may change the set list last second. And, there's just all that kind of stuff where you're like, oh shit, I'm out of time. We can't change the set list. You don't want to be that person who has to say that to the artist. So
of course,
the printer is a big one, as funny as that sounds.
I know and I'm not trying to dwell on the printer. It's more, obviously like, when do you start making those investments in the gear that you need? Because like specifically with you, where you are also a front of house engineer.
Yeah.
So you got to think about like, well, am I going to start putting some money into this thing? So I've got this stuff as well, but I guess it opens up another career opportunity, more job opportunities.
I would say the printer came last. When I was first starting out, the thing that you needed right away and everything that everyone was harping on is like, Waves plugins,
right.
You got the venue desk and the Waves plugins. You got to get all that stuff. And so I kind of went into like a frenzy of buying that. And at that time, a lot of that stuff wasn't cheap. It's gotten a lot cheaper since. But so that was like one. And then it's like, well, I'm working for these artists that don't have a budget to carry a desk. How could I make it at least sound something similar every night? And so you start investing in microphones. And then you go down that, rabbit hole of addiction. And then so it just slowly goes up. And then as you start playing with other bands or the bands you work with get a little more popular, then you're like, oh, I can rent mics and I don't need to be carrying all this stuff around. And,
right.
And then so from then you're like, well, if I could rent mics, I could probably also start renting outboard gear. And then you get into that world, and you're like, fuck plugins. Let's go with, knobs.
Right. Old school.
Old school, yeah. And then, so that, I think for me, at least, that was my evolution.
Yeah. Where did you start learning some? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, we could go to, I started in LA at the Troubadour was my first live sound show.
You've mixed some awesome rooms in LA and New York. You got Roughtrade. Is that Roughtrade Music?
Yeah. Yeah. At the record store has a 300 cap room in the back of it.
Yeah. Place is awesome.
So it's walking distance from my place, and it's a cool thing for the community. So when I'm in town, I try to hang out there and do some mixing.
Nice, man. But the Echo, done a bunch of stuff at the Echo.
Yeah, the Echo, another great thing for the neighborhood. I lived for a long time in Echo Park, and I was there when the Echo opened up. I wasn't working there until a few years after, but what a great thing for the neighborhood. Great 400 cap room, that place.
Yeah.
But I started at the Troubadour, coincidentally.
That's pretty awesome. How'd you get that gig?
Well, to be honest, I started there as a security guard.
Uh-huh.
And, I just became friends with the front of house guy there. And, I tried to learn stuff while I was there. And there became an opportunity when they're like, I can't be in town. Do you want to work? Want to work as a sound guy? I was like, yes, absolutely.
Now, what were you doing up to that point that got you to being security? Had you gone to school for audio? Had you been dabbling?
No, I never did any school. I grew up, like most your guests, playing music.
Yep.
And some of that included, recording or being around recording studios.
Yeah.
Or just mixing on your computer, Pro Tools.
Right.
And so I did a lot of that. That's kind of how I learned, EQing and, what compression is and that kind of stuff. And then, the opportunity arose, and I took the SC48 handbook from the Troubadour, and I read it over the weekend and really just dove into it. Already understanding signal flow.
Yep.
And I did this thing, and it wasn't anything crazy. It was just like, two bands local scenario, it wasn't, it was the biggest thing in the world to me in the moment,
of course,
but, not high risk.
Right. Right. But there's always a chance. I mean, not high risk, but anything can happen.
Oh, well, to me, I was like, pissing my pants, like trying to be confident and not show, any sweat at all.
Had the main audio guy shown you a bunch of stuff prior, or was it literally just you kind of get to know? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sean, every chance I got to hang out there outside of working as a security guard, I was up in the booth hanging out with them, asking questions, and he let me take over on, it's just like, it was actually a really great learning opportunity for me.
Nice. And what a great house to learn in.
Yeah. Legendary.
Yeah.
Troubadour. I can't say enough great things about the Troubadour.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I've seen a bunch
but
of
everyone
shows
will
there.
say, what a weird mix position.
Yeah. Where is it? Is that off to the side?
Yeah. It's upstairs and off to house left.
Right. Because isn't that kind of where the band comes down to or something?
Well, they come down. You can get through the backstage up in that little nook.
Uh-huh.
However, there's stairs down to the stage.
Right. That's awesome, man. So you got through that, and then did you get a gig there sort of regularly doing audio?
Started doing 1 or 2 days a week there after a short while, and then I was there for a couple years, and then I started working at the Echo at the same time.
Nice.
And there, that's back. They had I think it was a Series 5 desk, analog, and so I, kind of reverse engineered the learning curve and got my analog chops from there for a while until they brought in SC48s, I think.
So they were digital over at the Troubadour.
Digital at the Troubadour when I got there, yeah.
That must have been an awesome way to bounce between things, between the worlds, and like you said, reverse engineer and learn. Right, on one hand, you're learning a new technology, but at the other hand, you are starting from scratch and building up that base.
Yeah, and what it really taught me is, to use your ears more instead of looking at a screen to identify what an EQ curve is.
Right.
And so it was challenging because you're like, it's so easy to become dependent on that shit.
Yeah.
You look at a screen and, everyone at some point makes that mistake of like, it doesn't look right, and it's like, how does it sound though?
Yeah.
And so that was great. I think that was a great step and kind of just backwards from the normal way of learning.
When did you know or feel like you knew, like, I want to do sound, right? I don't want to be in a band necessarily, or.
Yeah, well, it took a few years, holding on to that dream of being a musician and being in a band and thinking that your shit is cool. It's a slow death.
Yeah.
And so I held on for a long time. And then there just became an opportunity where, people were asking me to go out to be a front of house PM or a front of house PM, on these smaller, 500, same clubs I was working essentially.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta just ride this wave and see where it takes.
So you were still playing in your band or bands.
Yeah.
While you were doing audio, thinking that like, oh, it's just moonlighting as an audio person, but I'm gonna be a rock star.
Totally. Yeah. Boy, was I wrong. Well, and aren't we all, or most of us anyway.
Right. Was that a bitter pill?
No, it was more like a chewable, It's a chewable pill because, it tasted like candy and it was, easier to go down, but and it was long dissolvable kind of thing, so I didn't feel like I was, I didn't make a decision like this is it. It's just,
right.
It was a slow death of what is most bands' stories.
Yep.
And the realization that there are other ways, to see the world and be around music.
Right. And also, you're sitting there mixing bands at places like the Echo and the Troubadour. And so you're seeing a certain level of artistry come in, right?
Yeah.
Particularly at the Troubadour, I would say. And so I think that's got to be kind of like, shit, man. Like, you got to be there. And even if you are there, whatever quote unquote there is, probably 9 out of 10 of those bands or artists you saw, you never heard from again. Right? They get hot.
Oh, totally.
Get hot for a second.
And a lot of them, what's great about the Troubadour and the legend that it is still holds true. It doesn't matter what size band you are. Everybody wants to play there, whether it's underplay or it's your first show.
Right.
And so I got to see a lot of great engineers and hear a lot of them mix, and I got to see some unbelievable performances. And then there's also like, they donated their time to School of Rock stuff, and those kids would come in on Saturdays and shred,
Right.
and so there's plenty of ways to be inspired by that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's awesome. So you make the jump and you start going out on the road. What was that?
Yeah,
like?
I got out. Well, it was great. Looking back at it, I would never do it again, but
how come? Why do you say that?
Well, it's like, you want me to drive this van and, go around the East Coast in the middle of the snow? And yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. Now it's like, I would never that would never be my first reaction anymore.
Right.
But in the moment, you're like, this is the greatest thing in the world. I'm on top of the world. And you're stoked.
Yeah. And I'm making $5.
Yeah. And you're like, I'm not paying much for food after my per diem.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Free drinks. That's rad.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So who else, can you throw out some names of people along the way that helped you and guided you?
Yeah, I would say there's this band Milo Green who I went out with for a decent amount of time all over the place. They were kind of like a folk pop band. And then I had some friends by the name of James Supercave. They're like this cool art rock band out of LA. And I went out with them, and we actually went on the road supporting Warpaint. And that's how I met those girls. We did 1 month with them, and that, and that became like a cool friendship. And I was lucky enough to have the chance to mix them down the road, but it was because of that tour.
Right.
Trying to think who else.
Any engineers along the way that stood out to you as mentors?
Oh, yeah, sure.
This guy from the Troubadour.
Yeah. Sean was awesome. And then I actually met, who's a dear friend now, Alice Wilder. She does Future Islands and just a bunch of different bands. But I actually met her first at the Troubadour, and now we live like down the street from each other in New York. But she is an influence because, she would, I forget who it was that she was with at the time. But she just slayed the Troubadour. I was like, wow, I've never heard this room like that. And then there's like, Will Markwell, who does like Death Cab, and Vince Casamata, who does Maroon 5, and David Guam, who does Failure, and Local Natives. And
what is it about those guys and gals and the mix? What is it about their mix for you that you're like, if I could get there?
Yeah, there's a certain amount. This is going to sound, this will be subjective, I guess, but there's a point when it goes beyond technical and it becomes emotional. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if I could, I don't even know if I could put like a real finger on it, other than that there is something in those mixes where you don't think about the technical anymore. You just are feeling what the band is doing on. And so anytime that the emotion of the band could translate to someone who is trying to be an engineer or something, I would say that, you're probably a great engineer.
On that point, in your objective on your resume, I was curious because you said, your approach to mixing and sound enforcement is a strong attention to detail and efficiency while maintaining creativity and artistry.
Yeah.
How do you strive to maintain unique creativity and artistry?
Well, at that level, especially when you're like, the first bus tour bands or that kind of stuff, your relationship with the band is a lot closer. And, they're asking, your opinions on things, and they are, what I always strive to do is to be as honest as I possibly can, with just what I think is cool, mm-hmm. And also at that level, at the same time, there's no budget for anything. Right. And so you had to be like scientifically creative to make shit work. Yeah. And so that's just kind of what I meant like that. And so I've always tried to carry that mentality of, I'm an ambassador for the artist. I want to know and feel what they know and feel, so I could best translate what they're doing on stage to the people that love them. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of it. I don't know if, I don't think that's any secret or anything.
Right.
But I try to make it, I try to make it as personal as possible. So I care more than anybody else about their music.
You spend a lot of time before going out with the band listening to a lot of their catalog or whatever they've got, or no?
It's endless hours.
Endless hours.
I have notes. And, you listen to everything. You listen to, you're listening to like, oh, what do the drums sound like on this song? How much reverb is on there? Is everything closed mic? Is that intentional? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You listen to the vocal effects are a big one. How am I going to be able to make this reverb come across accurately as it does on the record without feedback and, that kind of stuff.
Right. And of course, that then depends on if you're in a theater or you're an open air venue, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Everything changes room to room.
Yeah.
But and that's why it goes back to like, I need microphones that are going to sound the same every day, and not depend on the house thing. So that's when you start purchasing your own stuff. It's like, how could I be as self-sufficient as possible so I could create the same thing nightly? Mm-hmm. And the truth is the higher up on the sound totem pole you go, the easier it becomes, because you have the resources to make that happen.
Right. What's your go-to mic of choice?
I knew you'd ask me this question. and I don't even know. It's really more of a situational thing.
Okay.
It could be, the best thing for someone could just be a 58. But the best thing for someone could be, a DPA mic that costs $1 million. Right. It really depends on your situation. And room size comes back into that too. If you're playing a small stage, you're not necessarily going to want something where all of a sudden you have a third overhead mic.
Right. Right.
And so I don't know. So I would say generally when I work with a band, the very first thing that I do is like, I'll do a vocal shootout with the artist. We'll hang out and, on a stage somewhere, and we'll just let them sing, and I'll just see what sounds best with the least amount of EQ.
And are you soloing those at that point?
Yeah. Yeah. But you want to hear how it blends with everything else. You want to make sure that, it's not adding more room in your room, for example. And, so that's generally the first thing, because, if you can't get a good vocal out there, you're probably going to get fired sooner or later. Mm.
What do you do on drums?
As of late, I just do the typical stuff, a normal Shure package, and then, I'll use some Sennheisers on toms, and I've been using, 32s on overhead, and I generally only do one overhead, and then I'll do a ride under, and I'll do a hi-hat. But I try not to get, as much of the stage room as, other people do.
Yeah.
Personally, it's all personal taste at that point.
Yeah. So the other couple pieces I wanted to talk to you about. So you grew up in LA, surrounded by music and whatnot. Your family musical?
My grandma, I have early memories of, me and my grandma playing piano together in her living room. But besides that, no one really, athletic family.
Family. Yeah.
So, but I grew up, I started playing saxophone in elementary school. And that, that took me right into junior college, basically. In high school, I started playing bass. And so really around then, that's what inspired, so I kind of just got into this, I imagine my dad was like, you need to play an instrument to give you discipline,
right.
That sort of thing. And so I did that. And then, in high school, I started messing around with bass because everyone was a guitar player. And, that's kind of what happened with my.
How were your folks with you
career.
making the decision to go on the road?
I think they probably thought it was, bullshit for most of it. I don't know if it was until recently that they've accepted it, I guess. My grandparents have always been a great support system in that, but my dad always thought I was just being lazy and trying not to work, which, maybe he's half right on.
But that's so ironic considering the type of work that you do and that crew members do, right? It's hard work.
Extremely hard work, but nobody ever sees that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Have they been to shows? Has your dad been to shows?
Yeah, they've come out to some really cool stuff. Warpaint went out with Depeche Mode for a few months, and I had some family come out to that, so that was cool.
Nice.
They've come out to a few different things. And my dad was pretty supportive of me in bands. Like, he'd like to come out and have a couple beers and watch.
Right.
And that kind of stuff, once in a blue moon. But I think, parents just want, better than what they had.
Right.
And, I think my dad was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Have you done anything to, it's sort of outside of the technical aspects of being front of house or being production manager, but have you done anything sort of holistically for the life of a quote unquote roadie, to help mine that, right? There's no like roadie school to go to other than an audio school where you learn things like how to manage your finances, how to take care of yourself, sort of physically for the long run and things like that. Is there stuff that you or you in the community have done?
There's nothing specifically that I've done, besides like make a bunch of mistakes and learn from them mostly. Yeah. But there are great resources out there, like Music Cares and stuff. They can help you with, financial planner. They can help you with dental insurance and, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then this tour life, I think you actually interviewed Ryan.
I did, yeah.
And that stuff was great for me. Like just hearing someone be honest about their own shit on the road. It's good to hear and like be like, oh yeah, fuck man, I'm not that different.
Yep.
And even like listening to your show too, just people being honest and open and like, this stuff sucks a lot of times. And nobody's going to care about you more than yourself.
Right.
Just hearing that, allows for you to kind of, look at yourself and try to plan what's best for you, from the financial side to, trying not to eat, all the food that's free.
Right. Right. Yeah. It is empowering to let that sink in and think, okay, here are some folks that do what I do. And they've been doing it maybe longer. Right. And
yeah, well, because,
they figured it out and I got to figure it out, but hopefully the tools are there now.
Exteriors, and they're like really, we all look like vampires and, probably don't talk much depending on what time of day it is.
Yeah.
But like we're all going through the same stuff. We're all feeling the same things. And so I've always tried to, well, I shouldn't say always, but I've learned to try to be open and honest about what I'm feeling. I've tried to connect with other roadies to create, more of a family, environment, because we're all sleeping, in the same bus. We're all dealing with the same shit. Yeah. We're all ignoring our families to a certain degree, and so it's good to be able to, to find those people where you're like, yeah, man, we're going through the same stuff and it's all okay.
Yep. And speaking of families, your wife is also in the business, or your fiance, sorry, is also in the business.
Yeah, my fiance, she's a day-to-day manager. Yeah.
So she gets it.
Man, it has been the greatest thing. I've, dated a lot of girls while I've been out, and, every girl is excited about it for the first tour, but then the second tour, things start to deteriorate. And some of that is just like lack of communication on my own part or something. But after a while, like the fantasy of it all fades, and the reality is that you're not there a lot.
Right.
And Anna, being in the business, she was awesome. And not to say that it's not hard, but we've, knowing other people or knowing other couples in the business, there's like this model that we try to follow of never going longer than 3 weeks without seeing each other. And so with that rule in place, she's flown out all over the world to hang out for a long weekend or stuff like that. Or if it's close enough to New York and there's like a couple days off, I'll, take a red eye and spend 40 hours at home and then fly back or whatever.
Nice.
And it's amazing how much that will restore a relationship, just those quick couple days.
Yeah.
To make it really feel like, you're not as gone as much. And then when you're home, it's all about being present. And, even if you're jet lagged and tired and stuff, it's really important, to fully commit when you're at home.
Sure. Which has also got to be tough. You're jet lagged, you're tired, as you mentioned, but you're also thinking about the next tour. Where's my next fucking job?
Yeah. Well, there's like a honeymoon period, so to speak, where like bank account is full and everything's nice. And then, you're at the end of the year. You're like, all right, well, I could probably do, X amount of months.
Yeah.
And then as that period comes, you're like, why did I say no to these other things? Right. Or like, now no one's going to talk to me or call me or,
yeah.
And then, there's plenty of times she can contest. So I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get a job anytime soon. It's like, that type of uncertainty is something that, we've all felt. But it's been good. She's in the business. She's like, Hanford, what are you doing? It's January. Leave it alone. You just got off work 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Do you also come in and try to get down to Roughtrade and go to the local place and say, hey, I'm back, whatever you got?
I do. But I do it wrong every time, and I'm going to try to be better about it this year. I always let them know that I'm back after I'm back and schedule the time. And it's like, that's cool, man. Welcome home.
Right.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am better about that. And I just enjoy being in those environments. And I think, doing sound is very tactile work.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I can, I like to just be at the desk and hearing loud music, because if you go a couple of months without doing anything and then you step into a show or something, you're like, holy fuck, why is everything so loud and what's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's nice to, at least keep one foot in the environment.
Is it tough? The flip side of being in the relationship, well, the positives of being in a relationship with someone who's in the industry is they get it. Is it tough being in a relationship with someone who's in the industry because you guys are just in it all the time? Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean, maybe that is the case for someone or for some people, but we still go to a ton of shows.
Yeah.
she's also really into Broadway. And so, you know, we try to do that a lot. You know, and so I would say that for us, we're just a very live music couple. You know, we still enjoy going see stuff when it comes into town, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm lucky that way. It's one of a million reasons I'm marrying my girl. Yeah.
Right. Can you shut off the audio engineer in your head when you go? I see your face.
No, man. It's so difficult. It really is difficult because you're not necessarily even trying to critique the person that's doing the job. There's a million reasons why that engineer may be doing something, you know, that maybe the artist wants or, you know, whatever, or who knows the conditions of the day. And so I try not to harp on that kind of stuff, but I do try to keep my mind active on like, what would I do differently? And if like I'm going to see an artist, I probably know their music, and I'd be like, I wonder if, you know, was this like an artistic reason for doing something, you know? So I do that a lot. But I've gotten, you know, you just become an asshole when you start critiquing everyone's mix in your head, because sooner or later you're going to start saying it out loud. And, you know, you don't know the reasons for what's happening for that day. So I think it's better not to comment on it.
Right. And 24 hours later, you could be in the same boat.
Totally.
Right.
I'm sure there's hundreds of people who've thought very bad things about me in my mix.
How do you deal with audience members that like to pop by the desk and be like, hey, man, I can't hear the fucking vocals, man?
Yeah, you know what? I learned something from Toby Francis, who does like Katy Perry and Ariana Grande, and his list goes on. But he told me something once. He's like, I always listen because you're not where they're sitting. And so I took his advice. And like, you know what, from now on, I'm just going to be like, thanks for telling me. I'll have someone check it out, you know? And so either I'll like have the PM, if I'm working with one, go to a certain spot and see if there's something weird that I can't do, that I can't hear because I'm at, you know, the board.
Yep.
And, you know, I try to listen to everything as if it's a real problem, because it could be.
Nice. Biggest difference between LA and New York?
Oh, man. Just production. You know, what's interesting is I think LA takes for granted the fact that all these bands drive their instruments to rehearsal and to gigs and that kind of stuff. I never thought about it until I lived here, like how much of a pain in the ass it is to be a band in New York. And maybe that's why a lot of the music is, you know, aggressive in one way or another.
Right.
You know, because you really have, in New York, you really have to fight to be a band. You know, there's no room for it. You can't really be loud anywhere. And if it is a place, it's going to cost money. You know, and so I've grown a great deal of respect for bands that are trying to make it in New York.
Yeah. I had the same feeling when I moved back out here from LA, you know, in terms of being a filmmaker. Because I looked around and I was like, holy shit, like they got to take 6 city blocks with all their trucks and all that. And they're like 3 blocks from location, right? You got to walk all this shit down. Whereas in LA, it's like you could throw your cameras and lights in the car, pull right up, do whatever you got to do and get out.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing as a musician. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's just, everything's a little more difficult here. You know, and the vibe is like, what I do like about it, I think what makes it work really well is like everyone's kind of alone together. Mm-hmm. You know, we're all in the subways. We're all, you know, walking the pavements and, you know, just trying to get from A to B to C.
Right.
And so that's kind of a cool, I think that's what the buzz is when people talk about the New York buzz. Is it's just like that kind of communal schlepping around, an imperfect system.
Yeah. Hanford, if I had a stack of resumes and I was hiring production manager, front of house, and you're one of them, what sets you apart, dude?
That's a tough question. I don't know. I think I would just go back to how much I really throw myself emotionally or personally into an artist's project. Like, I treat it as if it was mine. And it's the only thing that I, care about is them succeeding on stage and presenting their music how they want it to people. And there are a ton of people who do that. I don't know if that sets me apart necessarily. Mm-hmm. But that is my goal, is to be as committed to the artist as the artist themselves would be.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. How's the rest of the year look for you?
Busy. Getting ready. Tove comes into New York to do some stuff. And I'm actually going to mix front of house for those shows as well, because their guy is committed to something else, and this was just like a week of stuff. And so that's next week. And then I'm just advancing all these August dates in Europe. So I'll be out most of August, and then her record comes out in September, so there'll be a slew of stuff happening from then on out. I assume that I'm busy, through next year, which feels really comfortable.
That's awesome, man. How far out have they let you know, where you can be like, okay, I'm good until October?
Yeah. I know that they're doing stuff in the new year already.
That's sick, dude. Yeah. That's a great position to be in.
Yeah, it feels really weird.
Yeah. Me personally, I never rest on that kind of shit. I'm always waiting, because I think I just been around this all too long, that I'm like, nothing is done until like I get to February, and I'm like, oh yeah, that worked out.
Yeah, when I get an alert in my Delta app that says a flight's been booked, then I believe it.
Right.
But otherwise, and I tell my fiance this all the time, I'm like, it's just a matter of time before I'm fired. So let's not count too much on anything.
When are you guys getting married, and where are you getting married?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. Wow. So was this a recent proposal?
Yeah, I proposed in December.
Nice, man.
Last December. Yeah. So fairly new. We're 6 months or so engaged.
How'd you do it?
I did it at home. It was, just, I knew when she was going to be home. She made me a playlist when we first met. I turned that playlist on my Sonos system. I had a bunch of like roses going from the front door into the living room. And I just waited on my knee for her to show up, said some very lovely things, and she said yes.
Did she know when she opened the door?
I assume so. Between like the flowers and the candles that were on the floor, that's not an everyday scenario. So I think she got the
Usually it's Pelican cases and microphones.
She did have to go around those Pelican cases.
That's awesome, man. Hanford, dude, thank you so much for giving me your time. And
thank you for having me.
Absolutely, dude. I wish you luck this next 6 months or so. Hopefully we'll hook up at some point.
That'd be great. Please keep in touch, and feel free to hit me up anytime you see that I'm around, or if you want to take the train down to New York, come hang out.
You bet, buddy. Hanford Pittman, thank you so much. Congrats again on getting engaged. It's going to be awesome, man. You rock. We'll see you out on the road. Guys, stay tuned next week, episode 141. During the week, you can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcast, YouTube, and Spotify, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the website, roadiefreeradio.com. Send me a note because you know I want to hear from you. That's info@roadiefreeradio.com. And in the meantime, y'all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.